Welcome back, everybody. Derrick Soo, your East Oakland advocate. It's been really cold out. It's wintry, it's rainy, and a soup sounds really good. And a lot of you know that one of my favorite soups is a good New England clam chowder. And one of my most favorite restaurants that had freshly made clam chowder closed up. And so I've been left with having to struggle with this. While this is a good brand, you know, it's nothing like fresh clam chowder, New England clam chowder. And it's missing a lot of ingredients in a real New England clam chowder. And so today I'm going to be making a big pot of real old fashioned New England clam chowder, similar to what my favorite restaurant had been serving for all these years. And I was going to that restaurant going back to the 80s because across the way there was another restaurant that I really liked, which was a little nicer dining. It was called Victoria Station, and they served steak and lobster and all sorts of other really nice things, but they didn't have clam chowder, whereas Quinn's did. That's my favorite place, or it was my favorite place. Then my other favorite place was in Berkeley, and that's Spangler's. They are renowned for their clam chowder, but again, it doesn't taste like a real New England clam chowder. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to be doing. One of the most important things once you get started, the ingredients are pretty simple. The typical celery. So we have celery. We're going to finely chop this, and also onion. A whole onion is going to go in there, and Yukon Gold potatoes, not russet. Yukon Gold. The reason why you want to use Yukon Gold, it's less starchy, and these are more solid potato, and so it takes a little longer to cook. They'll hold up better in your soup and not fall apart or add more starch to the soup. And then we're going to be using canned clams. Only reason why we're using canned clams, you can get a lot more clams in your chowder with this than buying fresh clams at the store. And then also the other benefit is the juice that it's packed in, you're going to be putting it directly into the soup. So everything in this can is going to go in the soup except for the can. And then to continue adding flavor, we want to add some more clam juice. And so that gives it the briny, salty, oceany flavor that is associated with clam chowder. And then also, a lot of places don't add in bacon. But only 4 strips of bacon. And I like to do a real fine chop on that and add it in the last 30 minutes. But the fat of the bacon, you want to put into the soup. Nothing goes to waste. It adds a real nice richness to it. And then we're going to be, once we have everything all put together in the pot, then we're going to add the heavy whipping cream into the mix. And then we're going to let it simmer for about 2 hours to cook down, get rid of some of the excess moisture, but also to let the flavors blend with the heat. And so we're going to do some chopping, and we'll come back when we start putting things together. Okay, we have the celery and the onion all diced. I did a fine dicing on the vegetables there because what those are going to be the fillers to thicken the soup. And what we're going to be doing once this cooks down for a couple of hours, we're going to be using this hand blender to smooth it out. And that's what all of that is going to give it texture. And so right now what we're going to do, we're going to turn this on and get things started here. We don't want to go too hot. We don't. And first thing we're going to do, we're just going to drain the juice out of the baby clams here. They're whole baby clams, and what we're going to do with that is just drain all the juice into there. We want plenty of all the clam juice, and then we're going to add some more. Usually 2 bottles. It could be 3. We want to get on top of all of the filling here. And so second bottle. So we've added about 2.5 bottles of clam juice. And this is going to start cooking here. It's going to take a while, and you're going to need to check back with it from time to time over the next couple of hours. Make sure it doesn't dry out. Okay. And we're going to need to add a little more juice on that. So we're going to add the 3rd bottle. That's why I always have a 3rd bottle. But also remember, we still have to add the clams. We don't want to add the clams yet. The reason why we don't want to add the clams yet, because they're already cooked. And if you add them now, what's going to end up happening, they're going to end up turning into little rocks. They're going to be little rocks in your soup. And so you don't want to add the clams just yet. You want to add them in the last hour, just like the potatoes. We're going to be dicing the potatoes and the potatoes Yukon Gold. And this is the slicer we're going to be using. You see, that's pretty good size squares. Those are 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch squares. So we want the potatoes to be fairly large, and we're going to smoothen all of this out. Like I said, we're not going to put any clams in yet, but we're going to get this cooked down so that the flavors are all blended in nicely. We're going to add in a little bit of thyme and sage into the mix. We're just going to use dry herbs. Just shake a little bit. That's the thyme. And then we're going to shake in a little bit of sage. And this is more aromatic than anything, but it does add a sweetness to the chowder. So don't skip on that. Once we get into the final stages of the cooking, that's when we add the Lee and Perrins. And I'll tell you what, this makes a huge, huge difference in your clam chowder. And so be sure to add that. And those little cheap can clam chowder, they don't have it in there. They do not include any of that Worcestershire sauce. And so I would encourage you, if you eat off the shelf clam chowder, get yourself some Lee and Perrins, and then try it out. And I guarantee you, you'll never eat clam chowder ever again without Lee and Perrins. So we're going to bring this up to a boil, and then we're going to turn it back down to 200, let it simmer for 2 hours, and then after that, we're going to do the smoothing. We're just going to use the hand blender and smooth the texture. And then we'll be adding the clams. We're going to do a chop on 1 can of clams, because we want real fine pieces in there along with chunks. And I like using the baby clams. You can use whole fresh clams, but they are way more expensive. I was looking them up, $7 a pound. So that means you might get 2 ounces of real clam meat, and then you have to chop that up. You have to cook it. So This is so much easier, and you get a lot more. So that's my recommendation for making clam chowder. Yeah, it's cheating, but it's not cheating. Welcome back. Okay, it's been about an hour, and I added 1 stick of salted butter to the mix here, and there's no cream in this. Look at how beautiful this is. It's already turned a really nice dark cream color, and I haven't added the heavy whipping cream yet. I did do a little bit of blending with the mixer here, and that's how it started smoothing out. And so I'm going to do it a little bit more and show y'all here on the camera how it works. Yeah, and you want to make sure that you have it covered, because it does, as soon as it draws air, it stops chopping. And so you just want a nice flow in and out for about a minute. You see how nice that got. There's some pieces that still need some cooking. That's what that is, but they're pretty close. So it's sufficient right now. And what we're going to do, we're going to start blending in the cream, and see how nice that is underneath. So now we're going to start adding the heavy whipping cream, and this will lighten it up, and this gives it texture, and this will thicken on its own. And that's the, you see how this look, that's the kind of clam chowder that I'm used to seeing. And we still have 1 more quart to add in, and then we still have to add in the potatoes and the bacon. So this is going to take a few minutes to come back up to temperature. I'm going to add in the second quart of cream. This isn't a cheap recipe, folks. So what you're seeing here is about $50 to make this soup. And but the nice thing is that it serves a lot of people. It will serve a whole lot of people. And so we're going to let this come up to temperature, and then we're going to add in the clams. We're going to add in the potatoes, and then let it finish cooking down. So we'll let that come up to temperature, which will be just a gentle boil. Okay, now we've already diced all of the potatoes. As you see, those are all the Yukon Gold. And what we're going to do, we're just going to gently put everything into the chowder. And they're going to slowly cook. We still got over an hour of cooking. And this is going to reduce down, and it's going to thicken on its own without adding any kind of starch to this. And we still got to add the bacon. You see, we're right at where we want to be. This is a 6-quart pot, so this is 6 quarts of in New England clam chowder, fresh New England clam chowder. And speaking of which, we're going to now add the clams in, because we're inside the 1 hour mark here. So we want all of this to blend in, the flavors of the clam meat, to blend in to the chowder. So that's the chopped, 1 can of chopped. That's a 10-ounce can of chopped baby clams. And then we're going to add 1 more can of whole baby clams. We're not going to chop this one. We're just going to simply add this in. And we want to get all of those good flavors into the soup. So we want to distribute that. It's going to take a while to cook down. We don't want to rush it. That's the whole thing. We don't want to burn the cream, and we don't want to use too much heat, because then those clams will start turning into little pebbles. And we don't want that. We want nice tender clam meat. And so when this will take at least an hour to cook down, and it's going to be absolutely incredible. And that's one of the things that I missed about going to Quinn's Lighthouse, their fresh chowder. And so we'll come back in an hour and see where we're at. Okay, we're into the home stretch. What I've already done, I've added the Lee and Perrins to 6 quarts is 1 tablespoon. 1 tablespoon. I measure that out with measuring spoons. So 1 tablespoon is right there. And then right now we're going to also add in the bacon. It's been about 45 minutes. You can see where the soup started, the high mark, and now it's starting to boil down, which is what we want, because we want it to concentrate. It's still pretty watery. In another hour cooking down, this will automatically thicken on its own. I won't have to add any kind of starch or anything to give it more body. But we're going to go ahead and add in the bacon. I fried the bacon. I like a lot of bacon in mine. Some people say, well, no, that's not exactly what it. In the recipe, it calls for 4 full strips of bacon. I had 6 left, so I'm just going to go ahead and put this in and blend it in. And the reason why you haven't heard me say anything about salt is because of this. This is going to add a lot of salt by itself, the bacon. And so you want to hold off adding any kind of salt to the soup until the very end. About 15-20 minutes prior to serving is what you want to do the final taste test, so to speak. And you'll see this thicken up. I mean, it's already starting to thicken. It's really, it takes time. And a good chowder takes time. Typically, in a professional kitchen, it's 4 to 6 hours for a good chowder in a professional kitchen in a place like Quinn's. So takes time. We're only into hour number 2, so we have a long ways to go, and this has to cook down a bit. So, but anyway, that's pretty much all the important stuff, and we'll come back right at the end and show you how it finishes up. Okay, we are at the 4-hour mark, and so that crust is a good sign. You want that crust, because that's saying that there's been evaporation, and it's slowly evaporating the excess water. And so the bacon is in there, and I've been taste testing this, and I tell you what, it is incredible. And I'm going to have a taste of it. I'm not going to take a big bowl. I'm just going to do a single scoop. And I wish you could just smell the aromas from all of the herbs. The celery gives it an earthy tone to this, along with the aroma of being by the ocean, and that's from the clam juice and the clams. So a lot of nice aromas coming out of here, and you look at it, it's nice and creamy. This is going to continue cooking for a few more hours, and it's going to condense down, and it's going to become thicker and richer. And I mean, this is so good right now. I've been taste testing it, and it is incredible. So I'm going to have this bowl, and this is going to cook for another at least 2 more hours, so that the final product, when I go to serve it, everybody's going to be absolutely amazed. Thanks for joining me. Hope you make this. This is a great recipe. It takes time to do, but it is so worth it. Like I said, this cost me about $50 in ingredients. 6 hours is the recommended cooking time. Some restaurants will do as long as 8 hours on a slow simmer. So that's what this is just finishing up. 2 more hours, and this should be pretty thick on its own. Thanks for joining me. We'll be right back.